Welcome. So we're now going to do polynomial long division. So previously we just went through a normal division question, and what we're going to see is that these same processes that we used here are going to be used when we are doing polynomial long division. So as you can see here, we now have polynomials instead of just normal numbers. But let's go through this process again, and you'll see that it's very, very similar. So I've got my divisor here, x minus 5. And then I've got my dividend, x squared plus 4x plus 1, which is right here. And now I'm going to perform my polynomial long division. So wish me luck. Okay. Now, the first time you see this, it does seem quite intimidating. So know that we're going to do lots of these examples, and just try your best to follow along with this first one here and just really take note of what I'm saying, because it's really important. But we're going to do tons of examples, so don't stress out the first time you see this. People do have a tendency to freak out the first time they see it. Okay, I'm going to go x times what is x squared? Well, it's just going to be x, because x times x is x squared. So that's how I figure out what my first thing here is going to be. Then I multiply down. So I go x times x is x squared. X times minus 5 is minus 5x. Now, that's an ugly minus 5x. So once I've done that now, so I just multiplied this down. So I went this times this and this times this, and I wrote it underneath this. So I put my x squared underneath my x squared term. I put my x underneath my x term. And now what I'm going to do is put this in brackets and subtract, because I need to subtract all of it from what I see above. So it's really, really important that you put brackets there. All right. X squared minus x squared is 0. Now this should always be 0. If you don't get 0 here, you've done something incorrect. So I don't even like to put 0 here. I just like leaving it blank because there's just nothing here. Then I'm going to go 4x minus negative 5x. Now let's really stop here. I have 4x minus negative 5x. That's going to be 4x plus 5x, which is going to be 9x. So do you see how the negatives canceled out and gave me a positive? That's really important. That happens all the time. So just be aware of it. It's a common place where people make a mistake. So 4x plus 5x, because I got two negatives. Perfect. Then I bring down this one. So I get plus 1. Now I go how many times? Now I'm just repeating the process. So that is what we've just done here is like one step. We've done it. Now we just repeat what we've done. So how many times is x times what is 9x? X times what is 9x? It's just going to be 9, because 9 times x is 9x. Now I just multiply down. So I go this times this, this times this. 9 times x is 9x. 9 times minus 5 is minus 45. And don't put these lines here. It gets real messy real quick. Then I put my brackets in. Put your brackets in. It's really important. 9x minus 9x is 0. It's always going to be 0 here, so don't even bother about putting it there. Just leave it blank. 1 minus 45. Well, that's plus. It's 1 plus 45. So it's going to be 46. And we're done. So this right here is our remainder. So this is our remainder. Now, when we're doing polynomial long division, we like to give our different things here. So our dividend, divisor, quotient, and remainder. Just we like to denote them with certain things. So here we would call this r of x, because remainder r of x. Then we've got our dividend over here. Sorry, our divisor rather. We've got our divisor, and we call it d of x, our divisor. We've got our answer. Let me do this a bit nicer. Here, which is our quotient, and you guessed it, we call this one q of x, just as a shorthand, q of x. And then we have our dividend. Dividend. Now, what we call our dividend, because d of x is already taken, we call it p of x, because it's a polynomial p of x. And that's what it is. That's how we approach this. So just to repeat this, we've got our quotient. We've got our quotient here. We have our divisor. And we have our dividend. And then last but not least, we have our remainder down here. So there are 4 different parts that you need to really commit to memory. All right, now, just as, whoops, I've already colored it in, let's get rid of this. Just as we did before, so like up here, we kind of wrote down based upon our working, we can state these as being true. We can do the same over here. So let's really talk about this. So what we can say is that our dividend, our polynomial that we started with, is going to be equal to the product of our divisor multiplied by the quotient, and then we plus onto that the remainder. We plus onto that to the remainder. So just to repeat that, our dividend is equal to divisor times quotient plus remainder. A lot of words there, but hopefully that makes sense. And I actually have this written down formally here. So when we divide the p of x, the dividend, by d of x, the divisor, we obtain two polynomials, q of x, the quotient, and r of x, the remainder, such that, and as you can see here, what I'm saying is my dividend is equal to the divisor multiplied by the quotient, then I plus onto that my remainder. Really important that you commit this to memory, because this is really important, because as you can see here, what have we done is we have factorized our polynomial, our dividend here. We've got it into this, we've factorized it a bit, and then we've plus on our remainder here. So this becomes really important later on, really super duper important. So commit this commit this to your memory, because as you can see, we're factorizing, and factorizing is always important. Okay, then the next way that we can kind of show what we've done here is we can say, well, take the dividend, and we're going to divide it by our divisor, obviously. And what our answer is going to be is our quotient, x plus 9. And then we're going to plus onto that our remainder, but we don't just plus the remainder, we divide it by our divisor. So we go our remainder over our divisor, and we get that out there. And that's how we do it. That's another way of showing what we've done. This way probably is more important. We probably use this way more, but you just need to know, based on division, both of these statements are true. And that's exactly what we saw above when we were just doing normal division. We could write them both out like that. Perfect. Now, if you're feeling a bit intimidated at the moment by this process, do not fear. On the next page, we're going to go through some more examples. And as you can see here, we have the steps of polynomial division written out for you. So we'll go through some more examples, and I'll go through them with you. But hopefully all of this has made sense. Just getting reacquainted with division again, learning the names again, and knowing the different ways you can state your answer. I'll see you in the next part.